Good morning, colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Wheeler. I'm from Plymouth University, and I have the pleasure to moderate this session this morning. It's a very interesting one for me, and I'm sure it is for you, otherwise you wouldn't be here. This is the Future Technologies and Learning session, and I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker for this session. He's going to speak for approximately 45 minutes, and then we're going to have a bit of a conversation in the chairs, a la Jonathan Ross style, you know, whatever you want to call it. And then ultimately we're going to pass the microphones around, and you'll get a chance to have a conversation. Rudy De Waele actually originates from Belgium, but he now resides in Cambridge, and he's come down today to talk about the subject of new technologies, new ways of working and learning, and hopefully, I think also, I'll predict this, he's going to also talk about the new ways that we'll be thinking and representing our ideas to each other. And Rudy has spent over 30 years in the technology business and at least 15 years in the mobile technology business, so he knows his stuff. I'm really looking forward to this. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Rudy De Waele.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, all. So I'm going to give you a holistic overview of like all the technologies that are going to impact our business, society, organizations, and also our life. So because there's a lot happening. Yeah. So if you just look at, I choose this slide here. You know, we live in this information age where we get information overload. Time keeps going, but knowledge, you know, is questionable. Like, so do we really get smarter? Yeah, or do the systems get smarter? And how do we manage that relationship? So, but first I want to start with a story of my son, who's in, he's 9 years old, he's in year 4, primary school in Cambridge. And he came home a couple of weeks ago with something they had learned that day, and it was about explorers, the great explorers. And he came home and he said that they learned that Columbus was a great guy, yeah, because he discovered America. So you have to know that his mom is from the Caribbean and her dad is from Ghana. So she's pretty well sourced in her roots. And so she had given already kind of lesson to Shane, yeah, my son, on what happened to the Caribbean and its roots, and Columbus. So, and she showed this video here, you can see on the background, on what Columbus actually did. Yeah, with the local Caribbean people, taking its local resources and being very mean with the locals and actually chase them off the islands. Yeah. So many of you know that story. So, but the main thing is that children are actually learning the same thing as I did 50 years ago. Yeah, I was learning too about the great explorers. Meanwhile, we live in a very different world. Yeah, so, and kids get a lot smarter too by learning. Yeah, so they have access to a lot more knowledge online, and they can interpret things differently. Yeah, so I have to credit the teacher though, that we had been talking to the teacher after that comment from Shane, and then he actually decided to show this video in the class. Yeah, so, which was helped also. So another observation these days is that part of my work that I do a lot of workshops, actually helping people and organizations to understand the future better. And also we use methods to generate new ideas and new narratives for the future, for their own future. So one of these methods we use is Socratic design, and we start with that with a Socratic dialogue. Yeah, which is very much similar to the message that Marshall gave earlier in the keynote, if you've seen that. So where we actually go back to our core values. Yeah? And the observation is that everybody who does these workshops, whatever, wherever they're from or whatever area they are in, they all connect to human values. Yeah? The human values, core values, are about family, friends, creativity, integrity, belonging, social, you know, sharing type of things. And there's nothing really about technology coming out of these sessions. Yeah, so what is also interesting here is that many people don't seem to be connected to their real inner self when we do this type of dialogues. I'll talk more about that later. Another observation, how many people of you are happy at work? Yeah, that's about it. It's 50%, yeah. So, there's lots of studies, and they have different numbers, but the main message is that most people are not happy at their work. I think 1 out of 3 says they're continuously stressed at work. Yeah, they don't have job satisfaction, they don't get valoration or, what they would like to have, and the same happens with kids. Yeah, so why are British kids so unhappy? Yeah, we just give them iPads to keep them quiet. But if you look at, iPads have a lot of great things to learn and lots of learning tools. But when they play games, or when they are in a game for 30 minutes or 1 hour, and you try to have a discussion afterwards with them, it's not possible. They become like zombies. They're just like in the game, in the technology. And this is going to get worse. Yeah, with VR coming up, augmented reality coming up, the distinction between reality and augmented reality is going to be very blurry. So another observation is that there's 100,000 STEM jobs in the UK alone every year, short. Yeah, so there's a great hole actually between academic and business world. Yeah, so the business world goes really fast, technology increases everything, puts a lot of speed on everything, and then we have not been able to actually respond to that on an educational level. Yeah, so there needs to be a better cooperation between the business academic world. So how can we predict these type of jobs? How can we prepare our youngsters, for a new future? And there's lots of different jobs coming on. And then this is a slide from Scott Galloway, who's a professor at STEM in Stern in New York. He's got a great presentation on the Big Four, which is a winner-takes-all economy that we're in. Yeah, so Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, they keep making more profit. They keep squeezing out everybody else out of the ecosystem. Yeah, they explore or they go to different type of markets. If you just look at this slide, which is basically the revenue growth from the last fiscal year, 2014, 50 billion Apple made in revenue growth. Amazon, nearly 15 billion. So if you look at the others, these are like the big brands of like other businesses, Daimler, Toyota, physical business, Nike, 2.8 billion, the best year ever. They increased their market share with 50%. It's 2.8 billion compared to this. Yeah, so, and this is not going to get better. They keep squeezing out other players out of the market. Yeah, so all the money goes to the Big Four. And this puts them all also in a very luxury position that they can hire the best people. Yeah, so they are literally creating a war to hire the best talent and engineers. So we are all swallowed in this technology, progress, while we don't even give ourselves the time to think actually where we're going. So what is going on? I'm going to dig a bit deeper into some of the trends that are happening. Software is eating the world. One of the most important quotes from Mark Andreessen, and everybody has heard about it. I call it the algorithmification of life. Basically everything in life, in our culture, in society, gets an algorithm, gets an app, gets software, we turn it into something, and then we do something with it. You can compare it to the like function on Facebook. So all our complex senses that we have as human beings is reduced to one like. Like or dislike. 1 or 0, 1 or 0. So artificial intelligence is probably the single most important technology of the coming years. It's going to revolutionize everything again. We thought that mobile was the thing, or mobile has been the biggest revolution in the last decade. Artificial intelligence is going to revolutionize everything again. In advertising, in content, the way we work, the way we learn. the way we behave. Robotics, another big trend. Yeah, and this is happening at a scale that nobody really sees, but it goes really fast. Yeah, there are already studies that 5 million jobs are going to disappear the next 5 years in 15 of the biggest Western countries. Yeah, and there are predictions up to 25%, in 10 years up to 50% of the workforce globally. In China now, there's already corporations that are replacing their entire workforce by robots. They just keep 10% of people to actually manage the robots. So what is that going to do to the Chinese economy and Chinese society? They haven't even properly built a middle-class society, and they're going already to a robotic society. What are all these people going to do? Big questions ahead. So at the same time, we go into this augmented and virtual type of reality, where the distinction between reality and virtual will become more and more blurry. We'll also get these type of sites, in the train, on the terraces, whatever. So they haven't figured out the real good interface yet. But you can imagine that in 10, 20 years, we will have glasses that can augment things easily. Google Glass was just an experiment, but these type of technologies will come back. New materials, graphene, for example, is 200 times stronger than steel and can also guide electricity. Will be a great innovation for battery, battery life, improving battery life, and things like that. So, and lots of other possibilities. Renewable energy. Moving from the fossil fuel economy to renewable energy economy is probably one of the biggest challenges we have. I know in Britain you're not very good at it, or at least the government, but this is, the way to go. Everybody can live on a microgrid and be, self-sufficient in energy. It's possible. The technology is there. We're going to have the electric cars, solar power driven cars and all that. So we just need a vision to actually put that through. But the old economy is holding back, or is holding on to the fossil fuel economy, and that's going to take a while. So 3D printing. Now everything is possible to 3D print. So a chair in mycelium, which is actually an organic material from mushrooms, 3D printed cars, 3D printed dresses, not sure if those are the most comfortable, 3D printed art. This is a Van Gogh from the Van Gogh Museum. They sell them at $34,000 a pop in Hong Kong. And then 3D printed food, from Cambridge. 3D printed organs, in regenerative medicine. We can 3D print anything. So this technology is also going to improve. It has been going over its peak level, but they're improving. And there's lots of people doing things with it. So 3D hubs, for example. This is a young startup from Amsterdam. They decided to actually link all the 3D printers in the world. So one of the other big trends is actually the platform economy, as I call it. If you're able to link your demand and people who request things, if you can put that together with the value, it's very valuable. So they actually link the 3D printers. You can connect on the internet, go look for your design, and then you can look for the closest 3D printer in your neighborhood and then just print it out and have a business model for it. So they started with like 500 3D printers 2 years ago. Now there's 22,000. Every time I look on the website, there's more. This morning it was 26,000 already. So they also connect to all these fab labs, all these creation labs, hardware labs where they make things, which is a big trend also. The rise of the fourth platform, the Internet of Things, as we call it. The sensorification of everything. We're going to put a sensor in everything. So we come from the standalone computing to distributed computing, cloud computing, and now we go into ambient computing. We will not feel or see that there's technology inside something, but it will be there. So it will be more invisible. Everybody knows this girl? Lila is her name. She's 1 year old. And she was incurable ill from leukemia. And so she's the first girl in the world actually that got treated by gene therapy. Gene therapy before that was in the labs. But the parents, or the doctors had tried everything to keep her alive, and there was no hope. So the parents insisted on try everything you can. This was done in London Hospital here in December. So gene therapy is going to come up as more and more also to cure people. CRISPR. Everybody heard about CRISPR, one of the biggest innovations from last year, where you actually can edit, cut and paste DNA. So out of DNA strips, they can take out the bad parts or the sick parts and just replace them, which is going to be great for disease treatment. For example, think about mosquitoes or malaria mosquitoes. They could actually modify their gene. What they don't know yet is like what is going to be the effect on the entire ecosystem, if we do such things. But the technology is there. Nanotechnology, we're gonna soon insert pills that have lots of technology inside. Here's an example of a captured-vascular type of robot that is actually cleaning up your veins inside the blood. Super microscopic level. So there's going to be more and more of this. Neuroscience, the science of how we think, how we store information gets better and better. Some are even saying already that in a couple of years' time we will be able to link computers to it, and to connect our brains to data. So where is that going to go? So and then quantum computing.
Because of the mind-bending properties of a quantum state, like superposition, a qubit can be a 1 or a 0, or it can exist as a 1 and a 0 at the same time. If one qubit as a 1 and a 0 can do 2 calculations, then 2 qubits can do 4, 4 can do 8, and the computing power has the potential to grow exponentially. With long strings of qubits performing computations, problems that would take today's computers eons to solve could be tackled in the time it takes to grab a cup of coffee. This could have wildest imagination type applications in fields such as machine learning and medicine, chemistry and cryptography, material science and engineering, and could allow humans to understand and control the very building blocks of the universe.
So quantum computing is kicking in. Everything we have known up to now is just nothing, once we start working with quantum computing. So there's going to be tremendous innovations, tremendous more data that can be analyzed in a faster way. So if you look at all these technologies combined, so because I believe that we have to do more system thinking, so there's a lot of innovations that are happening next to each other, but if you look at the different areas, most of the real innovations are happening on the edges, on the fringes, and that's through the internet and through all the connections that we link everything together. There's a lot more opportunity in all these areas. If you look at this slide, for example, it's an older slide, but how technology is exponential. So here is Apple Store, Apple downloads. This was from 2010 to 2013. Look at the inflation thing. This is Internet of Things, slide by Cisco. Here's mobile video. I started this off in 2014. The inflection point is here. We're here already now, and it keeps growing. And this is 3D printing. So the nature of technology is, exponential. As soon as you link these things with a platform and the community, goes up. So other exponential curves here. This is content, number of movies released per year, number of original scripted series per year, books published per year. So we all think that internet or technology kills businesses. They have been transforming businesses for sure. Or then if you look at Amazon and Netflix, how they actually go on a global scale. But now there's all of a sudden a lot more demand for TV series. And books, there's never been more books published. Now everybody is writing a book, right? And more slides here. Video hours uploaded, photos uploaded, posts per day. So it all goes exponential. So if you look at technologies, different technologies, on a systemic level, everything is combinatorial. If you look at this slide here, Yeah, this is a slide from Frank Diana from the Futures Agency, one of my partners there. So these are all the technologies that went already over the hype curve, and these are on the hype curve. Yeah, so but everything is linked. Yeah, you can link sharing, if you link nanotechnology to sharing economy, so all these guys that are in the labs, you know, doing gene editing, biohacking, they're also starting to create their fab labs, yeah? So this is gonna explode. Yeah, so the same way it has exploded with the apps. Yeah, so think about this for a moment, yeah? So, and there's a lot of, you know, ethical questions about this, of course. Yeah, so I think gene editing was just allowed here in the UK. On Monday was voted. So on an embryonic level, but you know, this raises a lot of questions. There's a lot of good, of course, that's gonna happen. There's a lot of diseases we can cure, but it also raises a lot of questions. So we live in this first generation in history that has to cope with this accelerated pace of change. Yeah, and if you look at this is a slide from Gert Leonard, who spoke here last year. You know, technology moves on exponential level. Yeah, exponential is like, if I do steps, we think as humans, we think in a linear way. You know, I can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. If this is exponential, it's 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. So, and all these curves go exponential. So how are we going to cope as humans, you know, with this increasing speed of innovation? So those are the questions we need to think about. So some other trends, yeah. Most of the populations now are in cities. 50% of the global population live in cities. Yeah, so and this trend keeps going. So we have to keep or make our cities smarter. Yeah, how are we going to keep coping with all these people? The wow generation. Yeah, this new generation of millennials that are creating startups after startup, you know, one idea is a startup. They are fueled by crowdfunding platforms. Yeah, but they're not interested in power. They are interested in cause. Yeah, so they do things for pleasure and for fun and for the experience. Not really to access power as the old industrial age was built on. Yeah, so it's a different type of generation, and there's lots of innovations happening all over the world. So also this generation, they want a purpose. Why is these young people don't want to work in large corporations anymore? Because large corporations don't have a purpose. Or they're still linked to the fossil fuel economy. You know, these kids, they can't link to that. They can't relate to that. Yeah, so these corporations, they're going to lose, for sure. Yeah, they can't adapt. They won't be able to adapt, yeah, unless they also split up in smaller parts and start working like them as startups. So they also seek sustainability. Yeah, they're not interested in like fossil fuel or working for companies that are still sustaining that. So also on a demographic scale, longevity. Yeah, so we get older and older. Yeah, this baby can be 142 years old, or who knows. You know, health and medicine get so much better every year. Yeah, so I'm 55. My dad, he went on pre-pension at this age. Yeah, so I still have to figure out what I'm going to do the next 15 or 20 years with my active life. Professionally, I also have to think what I'm going to do. Yeah, because nothing is the same anymore. We can't really do our jobs for another 10 or 20 years. It changes all the time. So, and then another important thing is that income inequality is rising. On a global scale, it's getting better, yeah, because we lift up all the poor economies, yeah, and they go up. It's less inequality, but on the income inequality on a local level gets worse. Look at Britain there, not doing really good. Yeah, so with all these countries, it's general, it goes everywhere like that. So there hasn't been really an increase in, you know, better life the last 20 years. And our main attributes of middle class, which is learning, pension, health, and also home ownership, hasn't been doing great the last 20 years. Yeah, so what is going on? So I'm going to dig a bit deeper now into artificial intelligence. How many of you understand really artificial intelligence or the scope? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is happening with all the technology or all the data that we connect to the internet and to the cloud is that it generates a lot of data. Yeah, so every mobile app, everything that you use, every sensor that we connect to the internet is going to generate data, massive data. Yeah, so that humans alone cannot understand anymore, yeah, or cannot analyze anymore. So that's why we created artificial intelligence. So which is also includes deep learning, yeah, so that machines can actually learn from the data, interpret it themselves, and then actually come up with own problem solving. Yeah, so we are entering the era of real life science fiction. If you look at all the core big companies again, IBM Watson, Facebook with Moneypenny, Microsoft Cortina, Apple with Siri, and Google TensorFlow, they all have invested heavily in artificial intelligence. Yeah, so cognitive computing, it's also called, which includes artificial intelligence, deep learning, and all that, is about the better understanding of data. Yeah. So, but the thing is also that it can sense, it can learn, it can infer, and it can interact. Yeah. So, some good reading on this is a book called Our Final Invention, which is a bit doom, but it predicts a bit what's going to happen. Yeah. If machines can already now start correcting themselves and creating new data out of that, what is going to happen later on. Yeah, so it's a bit doom maybe. So here's what's happening now. IBM Watson.
Technology has helped us go further, go faster, go to the moon, solve problems previous generations couldn't imagine. But can technology think? Watson can. IBM Watson is a technology unlike any that's come before. Because rather than force humans to think like a computer, Watson interacts with humans on human terms. Watson can read and understand natural language, like the tweets, texts, articles, studies, and reports that make up as much as 80% of the data in the world. A simple internet search can't do that. When asked a question, Watson generates a hypothesis and comes up with both a response and a level of confidence. And then Watson shows you the steps it took to get to that response. In a way, Watson is reasoning. You don't program Watson, you work with Watson. And through your interactions with it, it learns, just like we do. Every experience you give it makes it smarter and faster. But in addition to learning, Watson can also teach. A new generation of doctors are helping Watson learn the language of medicine. In turn, Watson is helping teach doctors by providing possible treatment options. Watson is learning the language of finance to help investment advisors recommend the best way to plan for retirement. The IBM Watson Engagement Advisor can react to a caller's questions and help operators find the right answers faster. The IBM Watson Discovery Advisor helps researchers uncover patterns that are hiding in mountains of data and then share these new insights with colleagues. With Watson Analytics, you can ask Watson a question, and Watson can show you what the data means in a way that's easy for anyone to understand and share. The IBM Watson Developers Cloud offers software vendors and developers the technology and tools they need to take advantage of Watson's cognitive power. Accessible on the cloud, anytime. Watson needs you. This generation of problem solvers is going to learn much faster with Watson, and Watson in turn will learn much faster with us. Developers will solve new problems. Business leaders will ask bigger questions. And together, we'll do things generations before couldn't dream of. What will you do with Watson?
So yeah, Watson is probably one of the most known that got into popular artificial intelligence. Yeah. So, but it was for a long time a closed development. So now they started opening that up. Yeah. So and now also Google, Facebook, they're all using it. So you might not know it, but behind your Facebook newsfeed and all that is already artificial intelligence. Yeah, that will actually analyze your behavior and push you the content that you want. So some of the applications that are now built on top of IBM Watson, for example, is this one, ROS. Yeah, there's new startups popping up everywhere that start working with artificial intelligence. This is a super intelligence attorney. So what it does it can scan in a split second all the legal books in the world. Yeah? So that means that as an attorney, all the research that you would spend on a case, you know, days and days or weeks and weeks, can be done in a couple of seconds now. And artificial intelligence will tell you option 1, 2, 3, 4 you can use in this case. So it's going to revolutionize, you know, a lot of professions, yeah, and the way we work. Yeah, so it will make us somehow more intelligent, but on the other hand, also there's going to be lots of job losses. So this is an example here. TrollSwap, yeah, it's intelligence investment portfolios. It's entirely done by artificial intelligence. There's no human involved. They scan the markets, yeah, and based on historical data, they predict, you know, the investments that will do good for you. So you can try it online, TrollSwap.com. Yeah, it works. This one here, Deep Knowledge Ventures in Hong Kong. They assigned last year already the first board member is an artificial intelligence. Yeah, this is not the future, it's already happening now. And why is that? Because an artificial intelligence can scan all the investments of the world in a split second and tell you the possibility or the probability rate of your return. So this is going to come up a lot more. Wall Street is using it already a lot also, you know, for financial analysis and investments. Yeah, so they did, the Wall Street Journal did a couple of tests with, you know, editorial writing and writing from a robot, and nobody could tell the difference. So they are that far already. Yeah, so there's lots of blog writing already and translation that is done entirely by robots. So the first wave that's going to come is what we call intelligence assistance. Yeah, there's a whole wave of applications coming from Silicon Valley. They're going to come this year already, yeah, which will be in your mobile apps. And we call it intelligence assistant. Yeah, it's not AI, it's IA. But they all use artificial intelligence already. So an example is here, Lark, for example. This is an app I use for my personal health and well-being. So instead of giving in the calories every time that you have to do with other MyFitnessPal type of apps, you can just talk to it, yeah? And start a conversation in a messaging type of environment. So I can just tell it what it has, and it will know already on average from all the data it collects from the internet how many calories there will be in there. And it can analyze so many more options, yeah, that we have access to now. So, and this is already happening now. So the next wave is that it also is going to be interacted by voice. Yeah, Amazon Echo, the Jibu there are devices that you can just put in your family room and you can just talk to. You can tell it to open up the lights, put on the music. You can ask it a question on Google. Yeah, you can ask it many questions and it will reply. So a lot of technology will become more invisible. We're just going to talk to it. We will not have to interact anymore or click or type. What a silly interface anyway, this typing, no? Would be a lot easier if you can just talk. So think about the Her movie. Yeah, sometimes I think I have felt everything I'm ever going to feel. And from here on out, I'm not going to feel anything new. Just lesser versions of what I've already felt. How many of you saw the movie? Yeah, definitely go and see it because it's about a guy who falls in love with an operating system. Yeah, or the voice of an operating system. Yeah, so, but we're literally handing out a lot of our knowledge to technology, to our smartphone. Yeah, just check your memory. You know, if you all the time, you know, use your smartphone, you will not know the answer anymore because you don't use your brain anymore. You just use Google. Yeah, so we're handing out our knowledge to technology. Here are two great books I recommend. Our Final Invention from James Barrett, former BBC documentary producer, and The Future of Professions from Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind from Oxford. Really good material to understand better about what's going to happen also to your profession. Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is literally, you know, sensorification of everything. Now it's mainly used in smart cities, yeah, or then to make cities smarter. Here is a good slide of, it's from Libellium, one of the startups in that area. How, ooh, the quality is not so good actually. So, but it's a lot used for air pollution, forest fire detection, wine quality enhancing, sportsman care, of course, with wearable, electromagnetic levels, smart roads, smart lighting, things like that, waste management. Here are a couple of examples that they do. River flood and forest fire early detection. Sustainable cocoa, so they can actually monitor, the air quality, temperature, and things like that to improve cocoa production. Same for the grapes and vineyards. Beehives, this is one of the most amazing projects. They do that in Cork, is using smart sensor technology to measure bee health. I saw this girl, the CEO, talking on that, and she said the bees are dying, so we need to monitor them. If the bees are dying, we are dying. So we're gonna be able to measure a lot of things and understand a lot more things about nature and ourselves also by putting sensors on. Smart water project in Zaragoza, they do it underwater. They have drones underwater. They can scan a lot of things underwater. Strawberry crops optimization, a lot in farming. Also horses, cows, and then pest control. So there's a lot of applications that will make and improve things a lot better. This is a slide from Arup Design Agency about how beautifully organized our future is going to be. So when everything is like smart cars, electric cars, drones surveying everything, smart parking, smart street lighting, smart traffic lighting, buses, trains, and so on. So the question we have always is like, is this the future we want? Do we really want to go there? We can design other ones if we want. This is unfortunately the reality. This is what the Industrial Revolution left us with, chaos, totally inefficient. We spend our time in cars. Well, I don't, but many people still do. So we need to fix this. So electric cars and solar power driven cars, they will come, and self-driving cars. So we are entering this era of impossible increasingly becomes doable. Everything we think, Star Trek from our past, we can now do. We can just make it. And this will come. Most of the big car dealers are already having self-driving technology, and they're going to start applying it. Even just like to park your car, to organize the infrastructure and all that is going to take a bit longer, I think, but they're going to come. Why? Because we just have to. We want to improve things. We want to solve this issue. There's self-driving buses. There's a pilot project in Greece. Self-driving trucks. Daimler-Benz is already doing projects in US with Walmart. So this leaves the guy at the truck driver, or the truck driver can actually spend time now on doing something different. So, but we can also imagine this future. This is a project from Paris, 2040, which is a lot more about sustainability, vertical farming. So everything is public transport. There's cars in there. Everything is organized. Helsinki has a project also where they actually want to take all the transport in the city, buses, metro, cars, and they want to put it all on one platform. Everything connected, to make the city more sustainable, but also more efficient for everyone. Internet of Things is now applied on industrial level, mainly to create better efficiency. So this creates also more transparency as the data becomes available, and the more we know about things, the better we can act. So this will also lead to more sustainability for sure. On a personal level, all these devices, all these sensors will be tracked. So what do we really want this? So how is this going to affect our future? We're going to have to negotiate new contracts with brands, with everybody that is going to deal with our data. There's probably room for a new platform, privacy type of platform provider that's going to manage all our settings on all these platforms. Just think about all the apps where you give your data. Well, all that data is out there somewhere. Luckily, there's also people who build new things, and they build new smart things, smart buildings. So the problem with smart cities is that they don't really work in old cities, or like cities like London is really difficult because there's a lot of old infrastructure. Yeah, it's a lot easier to build from scratch new things. Here's a short video on the smartest building in the world in Amsterdam, the Edge.
Welcome to the Edge. This is certifiably the greenest office building in the world. But that just might be the least interesting part about it, because the Edge in Amsterdam is also possibly the most connected office space in the world. Working at the Edge is insane. It all starts with a smartphone app developed by the building's main tenant, the consulting firm Deloitte. When you arrive at the Edge, a camera recognizes you by your license plate for automatic access. And because it's the Netherlands, there are chargers available for electric cars. Inside, things start to get interesting because you don't have a desk. No one here does. Workspaces are assigned to you based on your schedule for the day. You have options: a work booth, a meeting room, what they call a concentration room, a sitting desk, a standing desk, a balcony desk. You can even just hang out in the sun-filled atrium all day. This concept is called hot desking, and it's what allows Deloitte to have 2,500 workers, but less than half as many desks at its Dutch headquarters. The app knows your preferences, and when you arrive at your workspace, the lights dim or brighten based on your stored settings. And any of the building's massive flat screens can be instantly paired with an iPhone or a laptop. So what makes all this possible? The LED light panels developed by Philips specifically for the Edge are actually powered by low voltage Ethernet cables, which means every light in the building becomes its own internet connected data hub with 28,000 sensors that makes the building and its users smarter.
The building becomes a very important part of who we are and what we want to be, and we actually seen in recruitment that more people are now spontaneously coming to Deloitte because they want to work in this building.
Oh yeah, and then there's these. The building has solar on the roof and on the south-facing wall, enough to power the building and all of the electric cars, computers, and smartphones used by its employees. And those employees are kept warm by two enormous boreholes tunneling more than 400 feet down beneath the building. During the summer, the Edge pumps warm water deep into the aquifer, where it sits insulated until it can be sucked back out in the winter to warm the building. Outside, there are beehive towers and bat homes to support the local pollinators. And even the rainwater is collected to flush the toilets and irrigate the gardens.
Yeah, so very cool, no? So I think it's 93% self-sustainable, this building. So there's going to be more of these. You have to know that all the large corporations, Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're all building these fantastic new technological buildings to attract talent. Yeah, because people want to work in a unique experience also. Yeah, so they want to change environments and have this flexibility of moving around in different settings. Yeah, so this is the investment of the future also. The other side is that there's a new trend coming, which is called quantified enterprise. Well, you heard it in the building, 28,000 sensors. What are these sensors going to do? They're going to track what you're doing. Yeah, so here's a project from Alcatel Bell in Brussels, Antwerp, sorry, where they actually use social psychology, computer science and behavioral economics, with network sensing, device sensing, behavioral inference and novel services to track what you do. So then they're going to actually, track what is happening in the building. What are the areas where people have most fun? Is it the coffee machine or is it the office desk? Yeah, how many interactions do you have with your colleagues? Yeah, so these type of things can be tracked on big industrial plants. They can also track movements around with bikes or motorcycles and things like that. So for sure, for companies, it has a big benefit. Yeah, it's to wonder, like, do you want to work in such an enterprise where everything you do is triggered? Big brother is now closer than any time, basically. So at home, it's all about the smart home. Yeah, so there's lots of startups, there's lots of initiatives every day on Kickstarter and Indiegogo of new type of smart home devices. Yeah, the most popular is Nest, and I think over here it's Hive you have. Yeah, the thermostat or smart thermostat or smart water meters, things like that are going to come up. Don't believe in the smart fridge. That's long gone, long off. So, but there's going to be ways of like that we're going to better connect inside, especially for sound systems, movies, or things like that. If you look at Nest, for example, which is a thermostat, there is a big power when they connect actually to different systems or different players. Someone like Airbnb, for example. They did a partnership project in the US where they offered Nest thermostat to the Airbnb homeowners. So then also everybody can actually start using that for a more sustainable use of temperature, or heating, things like that. So these are very powerful systems. If you do systemic thinking in a platform economy, you can think about who can be your partners. How can you scale? How can you spread the message? There's already projects also with solar power that you can actually share your positive output type of energy with your neighbors and things like that. And there's going to be lots of projects in this area. But the smart home is probably going to be won by Apple or Google again, because they have access to the phone. They have most users. They are just waiting for the right time until it is to bring in their solutions. And of course, there's all the wearables. I am not going to talk too much about it. There's lots of wearable applications, which is now summarized in the smartwatch from Apple, or the iWatch, which has, I think, 70% of the market share of all the smartwatches just in 1 year, just by launch. The interesting thing is that they're also already partnering with IBM, artificial intelligence. So they can track everything you do on your fitness will be analyzed, or your health can be analyzed. You can do that anonymously, of course. And so you can get better results also about it, what other people do. So insurance is already, or jumping on that car in US. If you perform more healthier, or if you're better, you're going to pay less. If you eat too many burgers, things like that, you're going to pay more, which makes total sense to me. So there's a lot of good things about this too. So unfortunately, for some human beings, this whole Internet of Things is not going to work. I'm going to show you this short clip here.
Northwest 5 or 6, wintry showers, good, occasionally poor. North at Sierra, south at Sierra, east 40s, variable 4, becoming southeasterly 5 or 6, west 40s, chromaty, 4th, time, west dogger.
The sharks are focusing all their attention on the offshore islands, full of young seals. By watching how the sharks hunt here, Alison has learned what time of day an attack is most likely.
Here's the General Synopsis at 0700 GMT. Cow in Sierra Channel moving steadily until... Sorry, that should be low in Sierra Channel. And now the area report. Viking, north of Sierra, south of Sierra, weather time, good. Westerly becoming cyclonic, good. Humber Town, Bedford, Leyland Down, Dover Seoul, Hayes Red, good. White Portland,
inside the telescope. The astronauts had to get the latch to lock.
If you copy, Jeff's just working putting the doors back together. Thinks he's managed to close the gap. And we're going to...
Press on. If you've got a way to do it, do it.
Trap and a ratchet Floating Story Musgrave improvised a solution. It was a success. The astronauts were elated.
Yeah, you got it right. So yeah, as humans, we can be pretty resilient to technology too. So robotics, this is the last section. Yeah, another trend that's already there. Yeah, these are some waiters in Beijing, in China, in some restaurant. So they are real. There's more and more of them. Google invested in 8 companies 2 years ago already. They become more and more human. A lot of them are done for heavy lifting duty in manufacturing and all that, which is great. Yeah, we finally will be discharged from this heavy labor as human beings. Yeah, so, but there's lots of other applications too. This is a research project from NEC, where the robots are actually trained on emotional intelligence and doing job interviews. Yeah, so lots of this open lab, open source, open resources type of labs around. This is the first robot created, a 3D printed robot, yeah, created by Inmove, a French designer. And then Intel has already a less than $1,000 on the market robot that you can 3D print. Yeah, you can just go on the website, you can create your own designs, and then they send you the kit, and you can 3D print at home. Here's a short video.
One of our research labs, and Jimmy is powered by a Core i7 Nook, which is a commercially available computing platform.
Hi, Rod. I'm Jimmy the Robot. I'm a 2-foot-tall, high-end humanoid research robot. I was made in just 2 weeks using open source software and applications, as well as a 3D printer.
Yeah, they're coming. This is a robot bartender.
This is a bar where you order a drink and a robot makes it for you. Which is not only a first at sea, but it's the first time it's been done anywhere in the world. So you order your drink on a tablet, you choose from a whole range of different beverages, press a button and the robot's going to action. But they can make just about any cocktail within a minute, and there's 2 robots, so that's 30 seconds per drink. Not only is it going to be the most futuristic experience you've ever had in a bar, but it's probably going to be the most efficient in terms of time.
Yeah, and there's robots for food who will prepare your food. Many people will be happy for that, but I'm not going to show all the videos, but you literally just put the ingredients ready, then the robot is going to look for the best recipe. It can be a Michelin 3-star recipe type of food, and he'll just make it for you at home. So all these robots are coming to town. This is another short video on...
It's easy to be cynical of the endless and idiotic predictions of futures that never are. So that's why it's important to emphasize again that this stuff isn't science fiction. The robots are here right now. There is a terrifying amount of working automation in labs and warehouses around the world.
This is in Amazon.
We have been through economic revolutions before, but the robot revolution is different. Horses aren't unemployed now because they got lazy as a species. They're unemployable. There's little work that a horse can do to pay for its housing and hay. And many bright, perfectly capable humans will find themselves the new horse, unemployable through no fault of their own. But if you still think new jobs will save us, here is one final point to consider. The US Census in 1776 tracked only a few kinds of jobs. Now, there are hundreds of kinds of jobs, but the new ones are not a significant part of the labor force. Here's the list of jobs ranked by the number of people who perform them. It's a sobering list with the transportation industry at the top. Continuing downward, all of this work existed in some form 100 years ago, and almost all of them are easy targets for automation. Only when we get to number 33 on the list is there finally something new. Don't think that every barista or white-collar worker need lose their job before things are a problem. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%. The list above is 45% of the workforce. Just what we've talked about today, the stuff that already works, can push us over that number pretty soon. And given that even in our modern technological wonderland, new kinds of work aren't a significant portion of the economy, this is a big problem. This video isn't about how automation is bad, rather that automation is inevitable. It's a tool to produce abundance for little effort. We need to start thinking now about what to do when large sections of the population are unemployable through no fault of their own. What to do in a future where, for most jobs, humans need not apply.
Yeah, so I think we're on an inflection point, of like where we have to start thinking where all this is going. We don't really see it yet, around us, but they are everywhere and they're coming, especially in manufacturing, but also in service jobs and professions. Yeah, so here's a slide about upskilling and right-braining type of jobs, new jobs that are going to be there in 5 years. They are not existing now. Yeah, and then all the ones that are disappearing. Yeah, so unfortunately, it's not very readable, but there are all type of jobs related to programming, artificial intelligence, robotics type of thing, engineering type of jobs. So as the algorithmification of our life goes on, so all this software is written by engineers. So where's the human side, of things? Yeah, so where's the balance? Yeah, so, and I think that now we are at an inflection point of that balance. We have to bring that back into shape. Yeah, so this is a slide from World Economic Forum on the 10 skills you'll need to thrive in the fourth industrial revolution. Fourth industrial revolution is a term coined by Klaus Schwab, who wrote a short book about it, based on the third industrial revolution from Jeremy Rifkin. Third industrial revolution is about all the ICT technology that is accelerating things and creating a new type of economy, while the fourth industrial revolution is linking all the different types of technologies, also neuroscience, nanotechnology, biotech and all that. So, and do more of a systemic type of thinking. So it's really a good book if you want to read it. So here are the jobs, yeah? If you look at it like, what are the top 10s? So the ones that are going up and down. If you look at the ones that are going up, they're all, are intrinsic human values and characteristics. Critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility. So these jobs are going to come back. Yeah, because what are we going to do with all the other people that lose their work? Also, we're going to have to invent new type of services, new type of things to keep them busy. Yeah, so Alain de Botton, one of my favorite philosophers, is also in that conclusion. He came up with a term already which is called artificial emotional intelligence. So his reasoning is that now technology has already the basic layer of everything we need around us. So what we need to build on top of that is now human type of services, human skill type of services. Yeah, and then use the technology also to scale that. So you will see a lot of applications also coming into this human psychological type of analysis or personal improvement type of learning types. And this goes on also for L&D. Yeah? So coming back to Socratic design, so I think with this inflection point, it's time more than ever to question. Yeah, so what I do every day is basically do groups of dialogues with different people. And then what happens is that when you put people around the table, you can generate collective intelligence. Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you put the CEO together with the cleaning lady. Yeah, if you put them on the same level and do Socratic dialogue, is actually the art of listening. Is the first thing that you learn. Yeah, because most of the people ask a question to hear themselves talk. Yeah, so and it's actually very difficult to listen to someone. So and then that's what we do in the Socratic dialogue. So, but when we do these value exercises, then we come back to the core human values, and then we ask people to design the future, whether it's design a school for your kids, design a class or design a project that you're in, design a company or design an idea or a product. They are all very different because they have the human as in the center, not the technology. So the risk is there that we become always, we follow technology. We're just like reactive to technology. Yeah, so if you sit in your computer or your mobile phone, you just like all the time get notifications. You get emails, you respond, you're reacting. You're not really thinking. So you have to get back from away from the technology to get back to your human values and your human thinking. So, and if you do that, you will come up with a lot better ideas. Yeah, and those will be the ideas for the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudy.
Oh,
Do
I'll
come and join me here, and we'll have a brief conversation, and hopefully you'll have questions also, which we'll have a bit of time for. Not much, I'm afraid, because we are running out of time, but I think there'll be time for one or two questions. And perhaps, Rudy, first question from me. And there are microphones, I'm assuming. Are they? Where are they? Over here. Great. First question from me. I was fascinated by your balance there of the pessimistic versus the optimistic. You know, you paint a kind of a dark and disturbing picture at times, but also an exciting picture. Where do you actually fall on this? Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
Well, the thing is, I've been very optimistic about technology, throughout my lifetime and professional life. That has been my career. Yeah, and I've been working with startups a long time, for years. Yeah. So it has been shifting probably 5 years ago when I did the Singularity University. I did a course there for 10 days, and that was the first time in my life that I could see, like, oh my God, I couldn't grab it. I couldn't understand it, because I understood that, okay, this is all going to come in an exponential way. So, and it's going to be harder for us to grab that. So now I'm still positive about technology. There's lots of great things we can do with technology, especially in L&D also. But I'm also a lot more prudent, and I think we have to question, a lot more of what is happening.
You did say to me earlier on, and Gerd Leonard, who many of you know here, who spoke here last year, is doing the same thing. You are considering shutting down your Facebook account.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, the thing is, I still get a lot of information because I have a very good network on Facebook, from my friends and people in my professional area. So you get a lot of good information, but that good information you can get from somewhere else. Yeah, you can now actually literally write a short program, put an AI on it, and then if you want to figure out the trends in certain areas, and then you get all the news in your inbox or in a different way. So what I found with Facebook, it gets too disturbing. Yeah, you get, I found that I spend like minutes or entire, 15 minutes or half an hour sometimes just like checking the likes on when I post something, and what's the sense of that? It's not like a lot of youngsters, they are now, they are looking for attention from strangers on the network. While the real human value is like, you have to be with friends in a physical environment. There's lots of studies about that already. So that's how people get unhappy. And then if they don't get enough likes, that's like a drama for teenagers. So there's a lot of consequences on that. So, but personally, I do it because I get less and less value from it. And, spending that time just to check likes or something, I like to spend it when there's a valuable conversation also, or dialogue, and which is more and more difficult, I think.
So there are benefits and pitfalls, and we have to weigh them up and be careful.
Yes.
Let me give you some responses from people on Twitter who have been following this. Yeah. Jane Bozarth, talking about your questions about the Internet of Things, she says, I thought it was a fab idea until one night my Amazon Echo started talking to the TV on its own. And it disturbed her. And Dimitris Tsouras says, I'd rather have an Internet of people than an Internet of Things.
Yes.
What are your responses to those?
Well, the thing is that the society we're in is that companies are predicting economy, or they are leading economy. So for them it's great, all this technology, because it leads to better efficiency, more profits and things like that. But as a society, do you really want this? Do you really need this? I say these are the questions that we need to ask. But I think there's one of the biggest problem is there's a lack of vision, in governments, and that's all over the place. A lack of leadership and real vision. In the 60s, Kennedy could say, like in 1961 or 1960, we're going to go to the moon this decade. Now you don't hear any politician say like what they're going to do in 10 years, because everything is short-term thinking. And I think that becomes really a problem. We have to have a short-term policy, but also long-term policy.
Everything's compressing.
Yeah, because you need vision. Yeah. So if you look at Obama, he has been investing a lot in renewable energies, and that's how you see companies like Tesla coming up. If it wasn't for the help he got from the government there, Tesla would not exist or wouldn't be there now.
Do we have some questions from the floor? Anyone who wishes to ask a question, if you put your hand up and the microphone will come to you. So anyone who wants to venture over here on the side here, I see a hand up. If someone could get a microphone over there. And is there another person somewhere else?
My name's Graham Barnett, work with the Army. I've got a question for you. Where does the balance change? Because you're saying that companies become more efficient and we're going to have less manpower, more robotics. Well, if you go to some areas, for example, Nissan Sunderland, people drive Nissans. So that's their customer base. So if you are getting rid of employers and they're becoming unemployed, who then is going to buy the product that you're producing? Because there's nobody who can afford it.
Yeah, well, that's the whole problem of the whole economic system, right? So if all these people lose their job, or so the techno optimists, they say that the economy or the techno economy always produces more job and creates more wealth, which is true, but it creates more wealth only for a few companies, yeah, and a few shareholders. Yeah, so we still have to see, if you look at all the statistic growth on a global scale, or even the Western and developing countries, there has been no growth in the last 20 years. There is no growth, so we're just living in the same type of bubble and in this lending economy. So that's why you hear now this discussion about the minimum wage and all that, yeah? So because you will have to find a system. Personally, I believe we're a bit at the end of the capitalistic system. We're going to move into a totally different type of system based on this new technology. Yeah, so where there's going to be a different value system and a different money type of system. If you think at technologies like blockchain and all that, there's a whole different type of mentality around money. Yeah, so and I think, yeah, we're moving slowly into a different type of economy. Does that answer your question?
Okay. We have another question from the front here.
Hi.
Is it on?
Hi. No.
Can we check?
Okay.
Yeah,
Is this better?
That's it. That's it.
My name is Sheila Singla. I come from India, and the internet is really making a huge difference to that country.
Yes.
So I see the positive of it. But as a learning professional, my question is more around the content that you have on the internet. In your experience, how do you see the future of that content changing in the next 10 to 15 years? Because there's so much of content available. Who curates the content? How does it become valuable? Or is it just all kinds of urban legends up there?
Yeah, no, so if the future of content is going to be human curation. Yeah, so you see that already now. So some of the biggest influencers, they have their own newsletters. Yeah, so and they communicate to their own community by just email, yeah, by newsletter. Yeah, so and they curate the best parts that they have found. So it's going to be a human curation held by artificial intelligence or not. That's possible. But I think especially in education, there has to be a type of system where all the elements converge. Yeah, so if you look at all the big success stories in internet and content and things like that, it's all platform based. Yeah, but you have to bring the academic side together with the business side, the mentors, the family, everybody that's actually involved in the learning process can be in there. Yeah, so and we're going to move into a personalized type of system. Yeah, where everything can be adopted along the path that the student decides. Yeah, but all these elements have to be in place. So the one who figures that out, that's going to be really big. But that is happening, and already universities are working on that. Of course, we live still in that old paradigm from the industrial age where it's all about power, and my own brand is more important than yours. Yeah, so we have to get away from that old industrial thinking. Yeah, so throw away our old assumptions. That's why we need to do this thinking exercise and develop new narratives for the future, because we live in a new world and we have the power to actually design it ourselves. Yeah, we can design it ourselves, and when you do these exercises, you see that actually there's a lot of really great thinking coming up. We're very powerful human beings. The problem is that we're dominated with this technology. Yeah, and this technology takes over everything. It's like, just look at the information, or like a newspaper, or then your newsfeed in Facebook. It never can get as good as what you personally choose out. Yeah, so technology can help you make you the right selections, but in the end, it's like a human curation who makes the different links. Yeah, in different areas. Yeah, at least now. Yeah, so I don't know. In 20 years, it might be totally different again. Yeah. Yeah.
While we're waiting for another question, perhaps I could just throw at you your comments on 3D printing earlier on, which you made, which I thought were fascinating because we know there's a lot of advances in 3D printing. You mentioned printing food, for instance. And also we know about printing human organs for replacement surgery and so on. When it comes to putting things into your body and the consequences of that, there have been several comments on that. One from David Hopkins here who says, where is the responsibility if product fails? Printer, templates, designer materials, etc. It's a very thorny issue. And I'm assuming that you have thought about the ethical and legal implications of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing is there's in regenerative medicine now, so they are actually using this type of regenerative organs and all that already in human transplants. People who are in the last part of incurable diseases, and they have a 90% success. Yeah, this is in US and all that. So I truly believe that there's a lot of good innovations coming out of that because transplanting livers and transplanting organs has a problem also because the human body rejects foreign cells. So it's better to produce things from your own cells, apparently. So there is a lot of innovation. But for example, in self-driving cars, so who's going to be responsible? So the car manufacturer needs to be responsible. I think it was the CEO of Volvo who said like, okay, we're Volvo, we're a solid brand, we're going to bring a self-driving car on the market that we take responsibility for it. And that has to be the attitude. It cannot be us anymore, right? Because we haven't manufactured that device, So, and that's gonna, it's gonna take a while, or there's a lot of legal, the technology is there, but the legal constraints are gonna take probably a couple of years before that's, fully adapted.
So there's a lot to think about. I think I heard someone speak here a few years ago on self-driving cars and how they become so quiet that there will be accidents because you won't hear them coming. And then a whole new industry will arise where people are actually creating new ringtones for cars, and you can make your car sound like a Sherman tank or whatever you want it to sound like. I'm sure there'll be whole new industries that we haven't even thought of that will emerge. But one final question, I think, before we break for lunch, because we are running over time. Straightforward question. What's the most important thing we need to know about the future?
I think the most important thing about the future is that we have to live in the now. Yeah.
And be human.
No, because the thing is that, we always look at the future and technology and the future. I'm a futurist, so, but I think the biggest or the shortest route to happiness is actually connect to yourself and live in the now with the people that you love. So, and that is the same message as Marshall gave, and I think that's the best message to actually go through this whole technological exponential leaps that we're going to face in the future.
It's been fascinating, it's been challenging, it's been thought-provoking, a little bit frightening, I think, at times, and sobering. And I'm sure we'll continue a conversation on that. I'd love to talk to you for ages, and I'm sure we'll do that, but mediated through technology.
Yeah, sure, come to me if you want to chat during I'll be here around still a bit.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please would you once again thank Rudy De Waele.
Thank you. Thank you.